morning, Year 10. I'm going to share with you another strategy for revision. I'm not going to claim that I came up with this. This is one that my son actually was taught at his own school, and he used it through his GCSEs and his A-levels. He's now using it for his degree, and my daughter used it for her GCSEs, and she's now using it for her A-levels. And I just think it's a really good way that you can revise, which absolutely worked for them. You've got to figure out if it worked for you or not. So it is based around using revision cards, which look something like this. Okay. I've had a quick look on my phone. Amazon, you can get 100 of them for about £2.50. You can get them from Smith's, all sorts of places, and they come in all sorts of colours. So to explain how it works, my son, these are actually some of his cards. He had loads and loads of these. So when he was in Year 10, for his Year 10 exams, what he did was he took a set of cards for each of the topics. So for example, this one here is chemistry. Okay, there may have been more cards. This is what he ended up with. This is what I could find. So very simply, you take a card, you look through your book, you look through your textbook, and you write down on one side a question to something that you need to understand. On the other side, you write down the answer. So, if I explain to you, what goes where when molten ionic compounds are electrolyzed? The answer, metal goes to the cathode and non-metal goes to the anode. So, question on one side, answer on the other. Another example, what is the test for chlorine gas? Damp blue litmus paper turns white. Okay? So just what are those key facts that you've got to learn? So what my son would do is literally he would spend some time, the first part of his revision would be simply writing down all the questions that he needed to learn, question on one side, answer on the other. And that started the revision process because he's getting a handle on what he needs to know, and actually by writing it down it's starting to go in his head straight away. What he would then do is he would test himself, and he might do this sitting at home, he might do it sitting on the car because he played a lot of football. We used to have to travel a lot of evening games he used to play in, particularly when he was doing A-level, Saturday morning games, Sunday morning games, and he'd quite often just sit in the car, take a pack of cards with him, and actually just sit there and test himself maybe when he had his headphones on and he didn't want to speak to me, which you can't blame him. So effectively it goes like this. So he'd read the question to himself, what goes where when molten ionic compounds are electrolyzed? He'd then say to himself, the answer is blah, 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 blah. Then he'd check. It says metal is cathode, non-metal is anode. If he got it right, he would put it on a pile there. If he got half of it right, so he said he got the metal was the cathode, non-metal he got wrong, he'd put it in the middle. If he got it wrong, he'd put it over there. And literally, he'd sit, and his half-hour revision would be just to go through. So eventually, he'd have, yeah, I know that one, I know that one, and he'd build up a pile of things that I know, a pile of things that I've got most of it right, but I'm not totally there, and then a pile of things that I ain't got a clue about. Effectively, this pile then got stored somewhere. Didn't throw them away because he basically didn't want to have to write these all out again when he got to Year 11. But they would go somewhere because they're things he knows. He'd then start working on this pile. The things that I nearly know but I haven't totally nailed. So again, read the question, answer it, build up a pile, and what would happen is this pile would gradually go down. So eventually, pretty much everything in this pile would end up in the things I know. Once I know them, I can put them in my know pile. Likewise, do the same with my set of cards that I'm not too sure about. Gradually, some of them start moving into the I absolutely understand them. Some of them move into the not quite sure, I'm nearly there. Some of them I haven't got a clue. And ultimately, he would just gradually get a pile of cards, as in the I know pile, would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the things that I don't know would get smaller and smaller and smaller. So when it came to revising, he could see visually, this is what I know. And I say he kept them safe, so when he got into Year 11, he'd basically, literally have these in like a bag or an elastic band around them, and he'd start the whole process all over again, okay? When it came to the night before an exam then, what he might have is a very small set of cards he still didn't get. So either, the night before the exam, these are the only things he would revise, because actually I know all these already. I've done them enough times, I don't need to revise them. So straight away, I know the things that I need to revise. Also, these would be the things where, before the exam, he'd be going, well, okay, I don't know what this is. What result from a bond energy calculation means it's exothermic? You can tell why I don't do science. Basically, I think making equals breaking, plus IVE equals endothermic, minus IVE equals exothermic for when it's, there's a load of stuff in that I don't get because I don't teach science, okay? But let's say that's the bit he didn't get, that's what he knew he needed to go and ask his teacher about. So at some point in the build-up, either it might be covered in a lesson, or he might just say to the teacher, do you know what, this bit I still don't get, sir, I don't get, miss, can you just explain it to me? He was taking control of his learning. He would basically then try and get his head around it, hopefully, it would then go on to his I know file. And as I said, that night before the exam, He'd have a small set of cards that he just would have to read through for that subject, and even maybe on the morning, this would be the small set he'd take in, whilst everyone's kind of getting ready to go in, he'd read through them and just get his head around them. Now effectively, he had a set of cards, so that's some of the chemistry that I found. This is a load of biology ones. These ones, he did psychology. Yeah? He had a set of cards for every subject. Whilst initially it took him a long time to do this part, long term it massively cut down his time. And also, this for example, may have been his year 10 set of cards for all the stuff he learned for chemistry in year 10. When he went to do his year 11 PPEs, rather than writing all this out again, he then just looked at his year 11 work and did a set of cards for his year 11s. Then after Christmas, when he had to do his final exams, he'd do another set of cards for things he'd learnt from Christmas until Easter. So he was always in control. This really worked for him, because I said he could basically sit there, he didn't want me to test him or his mum, he just wanted to do it himself. He could have asked us to, because we could have looked at the cards and read them. But it was in total control and absolutely worked for him, and also my daughter found it really, really worked for her as well. So that is something which is worth considering. Start it now, keep your cards safe, do it for as many subjects as you can do, and you can really easily see what you know and what you don't know and take control of it. I hope that is of some use. Good luck.